An acrimonious exchange has marked the first high-level meeting between the new U.S. administration and Chinese officials. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken accused China of threatening global stability, while China's top diplomat, Yang Jiechi, accused the U.S. of inciting countries to attack China. The testy exchange came as Blinken and National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan met Chinese Foreign Minister Wang and Yang Jiechi in Alaska. And this is a glimpse of how it went.
Today, we'll have an opportunity to discuss key priorities, both domestic and global. We'll also discuss our deep concerns with actions by China, including in Xinjiang, Hong Kong, Taiwan, cyber attacks on the United States.
On cyber attacks, let me say that whether it's the ability to launch cyber attacks or the technologies that could be deployed, the United States is the champion in this regard.
Secretary Blinken laid out many of the areas of concern, from economic and military coercion to assaults on basic values. These are the concerns that are on the minds of the American people. But it goes beyond that. We've heard each of these concerns from around the world.
The U.S. does not represent international public opinion.
I have to tell you, what I'm hearing is very different from what you described. I'm also hearing deep concern about some of the actions your government is taking.
A confident country is able to look hard at its own shortcomings and constantly seek to improve. And that is the secret sauce of America.
I think we thought too well of the United States. We thought you would follow the necessary diplomatic protocols. The U.S. does not have the qualification to say that it wants to speak to China from a position of strength. You were not even qualified to say such things 20 or 30 years back, because this is not the way to deal with the Chinese people. If you want to deal with us properly, let's have some mutual respect and do things the right way.
And for more, I'm joined from Beijing by government advisor and president of the think tank Center for China and Globalization, Wang Huiyao. Mr. Wang, welcome. Are you surprised by how acrimonious this first meeting between the U.S. and China has been?
Well, I'm actually surprised or no surprise, because I think this actually, a series of events actually leading to this conference is not really that encouraging. For example, U.S. has actually started the sanctions on the Chinese government officials, but also sanctions on Chinese companies a day before the conference meetings taking place. So I think this is really not very a friendly gesture. You know, after all, Chinese delegates have traveled all the way to the territory of the United States. Right. They are supposed to be but they have really met with very open criticism and attacks. So I think they have to defend, and then so that's where I think that it's got started.
What does China expect from this meeting?
Well, I think the meeting from this very important bilateral meeting, I think this is the first meeting, high-level meeting, face-to-face after Biden administration took office. So it's very, very important. And I think what we, probably Chinese are expecting is that let's have a start of the dialogue and the normal discussion. Let's calm down, let's sit down, let's have a face-to-face meeting. Right. Let's talk to each other, and let's solve all the, whatever differences. Let's know where you're coming from, how we can, accommodate each other, and then maybe find out seek common grounds and minimize the differences. That's, I think, what Chinese want, probably.
Now, as part of minimizing that differences, I'd like to bring in what Yang Jiechi said in his statement. He said that Chinese values are the same as common values of humanity, namely peace, development, fairness, justice, freedom, and democracy. So I'd like to know from you, how is the Hong Kong national security law democratic? How is the internment of up to 1 million Uyghurs in Xinjiang justice? And how are unilateral Chinese actions in the South China Sea peace?
Well, I think that, the director Yang was right. I mean, he talked about freedom, peace, and development, and the democracy, which I think it has different forms and the format. We cannot expect everybody come to one form of democracy or one form of prosperity. I think What happened in Hong Kong? Hong Kong is definitely more in prosperity now. Hong Kong is more in peace, and Hong Kong is more development. So
but is that democracy?
Really,
are you calling what's happening in Hong Kong democracy?
Well, I think it's a democracy. It's a consultative democracy. You know, they've been the chief executive was elected by over 1,000, 1,200 delegates, and the 1,200 delegates were composed of. They were elected by different functions and jurisdiction and district. So it's a consultative democracy. It's a different form of democracy. So it doesn't.
But it's
have
also
to be
a selective democracy. I'm sorry I'm interrupting you, sir. But it's also a selective democracy, isn't it? Because the people of Hong Kong were asking for universal suffrage, and what you have in Hong Kong is definitely not universal suffrage, something that is the basis for democracies around the world.
Not necessarily. I think that you have this one vote style, but China has this consultative democracy, and then they have a representative from different walks of life composed of this election committee, and the election committee select chief executive. So I think that's the way that so they have a more unity as taking into the consideration of the culture, history, background, tradition. So that works in Hong Kong and that works for China. So I mean that's where we can expect the continuity of the prosperity and the development.
Mr. Wang, if for a moment we view this meeting as what both countries, China and the US, offer the world, the US position is essentially that it's in favor of a rules-based international order. What is China offering the world?
Well, China offered the world actually. China offers over 1/3 of global GDP growth. In a normal year, actually during the pandemic year, China offered over 50% of world GDP growth. China is the largest trading partner of 130 countries around the world. China has never occupied any territory, never sent a soldier to other countries.
But you have occupied. But I'm sorry, sir. Again, I'm interrupting you. But you have occupied territory in the South China Sea, and unilaterally at that. And this is a point that the US has raised.
No, I don't think so. South China Sea is that, historically, traditionally, it's always been Chinese territory. If there's a dispute, China can solve that with the country in the region. It doesn't have to need the U.S. to come so far to come and intervene. And also there's no conflict, there's no clashes. Basically largely peaceful. I mean, it's not like Iraq or Iran or Syria or Afghanistan. I mean, China is basically a very peaceful country.
If China is such a peaceful country, why did the Philippines go to the international court and bring an order which said that Chinese actions in South China Sea are illegal?
No, the Philippines have its own right. Of course, they can do that, but China has its own right can do. So they can discuss. They can have meetings. ASEAN, China has this code of conduct of South China meetings. I mean, they always had meetings and they solve by themselves. I don't think they need any foreign intervention on that. And they can have a joint explanation. They can do whatever they agreed upon. So I'm sure this is an internal matter between China and countries in the region, and I'm sure they're going to solve that.
I'm sorry I keep interrupting you, sir, but then permit me. What you keep calling China's internal affairs, do you not think it impinges on a rules-based international order which dictates that countries do not take unilateral action, especially when there are disputes involved?
Well, I don't think they take a unilateral action. China keep having meetings. They have a regular meeting with ASEAN. They have China plus ASEAN, 10+1, 10+3. There's always in dialogue. They're always in the meetings. And there's, Philippines is actually a friendly country with China. I mean, they just, there's large economic activities going on. The president of Philippines has visited China many times. I don't think the two countries has a very serious problem.
One final question, sir. Do you think that there is a way in which China and the United States can work together heading into the future?
Absolutely. I think that it's really, I'm very sad to see that. Where the world is facing pandemic. I mean, we have climate change issue that is troubling all the people in the world. And we have a lot of developing countries is also plagued by this debt issue. Even everybody is living on the deficit. The world is in the recession after all this pandemic. So responsibility to work together, solving those common threats, rather than attacking each other and having all those differences. I think that's really what they should focus on: the common threat for the mankind, and stop the issue and show the responsibility for that. Particularly U.S. as the leader of the global governance, inventor at its beginning.
Right. Wang Huiyao, we'll leave it there for the time being, but thank you so much for joining us from a moving car in Beijing.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you.
And China's relations haven't just soured with the US. Earlier this month, China banned the import of Taiwanese pineapples, citing pest problems. Farmers on the island feared catastrophic losses as China buys around 90% of Taiwan's pineapple exports. Instead, the feud has seeded a resistance movement aimed to challenge China's growing dominance across Asia with freedom pineapples.
After 2 years of hard work, the harvest is finally here. But just 3 weeks ago, Beijing announced it would suspend pineapple imports from the island.
Over the past 10 years, we have expanded our farmland 3 times to meet the rising demand from the Chinese market. I never thought they would impose a ban all of a sudden. Now the pineapples have nowhere to go.
The ban came right before harvest time. Many pineapples are already ripened for packaging and export. China doesn't want them, but other markets do. Container trucks now come to the farm 4 times a week, each time carrying more than 9,000 fresh pineapples to Hong Kong. Fruit trader Adam Chen said inquiries from Hong Kong wholesalers come in right after China announced the ban.
My phone never stopped ringing since that day. I didn't expect such enthusiasm. I'm shocked. I hope it gives farmers more confidence.
Orders have been pouring in from Japan, Korea, Singapore, and Australia. Mr. and Mrs. Wu said demand from the new markets can't offset the loss from the Chinese market. But with crisis comes opportunity.
We used to rely so heavily on the Chinese market, but we shouldn't put all eggs in a basket. It's time to step out of our comfort zone and try something new.